City with the opportunities, yes, but Napoli, my goodness, they're defending well. And so at half-time here on the opening game of the league phase of the UEFA Champions League, it is City 0, Napoli 0. Let's go back to the studio where we can join Liam, who has with him both Steph and the guys.
Man City 0, Napoli 0. It got tough. They dug in, didn't they? I mean, we'll start with the big moment of the game, the Di Lorenzo red card. Steph, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's tough for Di Lorenzo because you're trying to do the right thing and trying to slide and take the ball, but it was an unbelievable pass by Foden, I think, outside of his foot, and obviously in them moments where there's space in behind, Houghton loves to run into them spaces, but I think it's a sending off. I think once you go to ground in that position and the keeper's maybe coming out, I think, and Haaland's through on goal, I think it was obvious that it was going to go to VAR, and I think the referee made the right decision, and obviously that gave us a little bit of advantage. But I think in that moment, I think his keeper could have really helped him in that situation.
Yeah, he's going to ground. He doesn't get it, so the call was absolutely right, you know, to go to VAR, etc., and him get the red card. Yeah, keeper could have helped him. Obviously, you know this as a defensive player and everything. But Haaland's lacking. He's just thinking, using his body enough to stop him from getting some contact to then be able to get a shot off. And you're right, the keeper is actually very close there. And because of the time that it happened, I think it was around 20-something minutes, you're almost like tactically you're thinking either let him go and score rather than to be down to 10 men. But Italian teams, being Italian teams, they know how to defend. Yeah. So how long can they defend this way remains to be seen.
Well, that's where we disagreed, because I felt like he had to go for that. Well, you said early in the game, you go 1-0 down. Keep 11 men there,
keep 11
go 1-0 down sort of thing.
Because my initial thought is once the red card's given, I'm sitting there thinking, this could be 3, 4 or 5. A City are pushing and pushing, and it could be a case that the City get one, then it opens up. But at this moment in time, they're defending very well. Defending, sometimes you see 5, sometimes there's 6 back there. They're just trying to, you know, fill in all their spaces and gaps to stop City.
We know what Antonio Conte's like as a manager. His teams are very organised, and I mean, it didn't take long. He took a few minutes to analyse the situation when actually, I mean, not the return that Kevin De Bruyne would have wanted, but they've fallen back into that 5 at the back, 6 at the back, and they've dug in. They've looked fairly comfortable. I mean, it's not glorious for them, but they've looked comfortable.
No, I think it's a typical Italian performance in terms of just being defensively organised. The bodies, they're putting everything on the line in the sense of trying to block shots, crosses, you name it. But I think, of course, as a City fan, you want Kevin De Bruyne to be on that pitch as long as possible. But I think Kevin himself and understand the situation. I think the role that he plays in that Napoli team in terms of playing in behind the striker, I think very rarely would he get the ball. I think it's been evident for the last 35 minutes has been all City, and I think he will be doing just a lot of running, and I think at the age that he is, it's probably not going to suit his game. But I think for me, Napoli have done all right in terms of defending and trying to keep that clean sheet as long as possible. But that last 10 minutes, I think when City are trying to put in the ball a little bit more, a little bit quicker, they've come under a little bit more pressure. Yeah,
it's been some interesting little parts of the game in terms of City. You know, we've got the width of Casanova on the right-hand side. He's producing some crosses. We're seeing Doku in the pocket sometimes.
You've liked that, haven't you?
I have liked it, but he's not received it behind their midfielder to then drive at the defence. So it'll be interesting to see if he still hovers around in that area, and can he receive a ball in there where he's then able to face up the defender, drive, commit, whether he plays it wide, etc. So I think these are some areas that City will look to exploit even more as well.
As a team, we're pretty well equipped for playing against teams that are fairly deep, but to change midway through the game, I mean, City don't look like they've missed the beat, and then they really turned up in that additional time of the first half. It got cranked up, didn't it, Steph? Yeah,
it did, and I think that's the secret when you play against teams with 10 players. I think it's about tempo and making them move, because You know they're going to stay in that block. You know they're going to try and stay in that 5 at the back. And I think it is about getting in 1v1 situations where you can dribble like the likes of Doku, Bernardo Silva right at the end there, producing the cut back for Reinders where it got saved off the line. And I think crosses is really key because now you can get Nico O'Reilly in the box. You've got Reinders, you've got Haaland.
Yeah.
Even Rodri can get in there. And when you've got quality players like Foden producing crosses and Bernardo Silva, then there's only time will tell until we score. But I think you've obviously got options on the bench as well.
I mean, just looking at the passes completed, Napoli have not had the ball very much. 33%, obviously, for only 106 passes. We mentioned Kusanov briefly. I mean, Steph, you were singing his praises during the game.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I think, obviously, when he came to the club in January, he got thrown in the deep end against Chelsea and didn't have the best of first halves. Obviously, didn't speak a word of English. He coming into Premier League. We weren't playing as well. But I think, for me, I think he has the attributes of a very, very good defender. I think something that we lack is pace, and he has that in abundance. And I think right back isn't probably his position, but he's played really well against Manchester United. I think he played against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu when we went there to watch, and he did unbelievable against Vinicius. So he has so much potential. And when them transitions comes, because Napoli will get an opportunity, I think you need that pace at the back. But from an offensive point of view, you probably have the likes of Rico Lewis, or you've got Nunes that maybe might come off the bench and give us that little bit extra in them wide areas if it stays the same for much longer.
With them playing 5-6 at the back, do you want to see Doku and Bernardo more like stick to the bylines to sort of spread that out, or are you happy with them coming inside and making them runs?
I think have interchanges is good, but the one thing I would say is Bernardo Silva, in one of the clips towards the end, we saw Bernardo on the right-hand side driving towards the byline, and it was amazing the amount of space. I think it was Reinders who ended up having the shot. It's amazing the amount of space because they got deeper and deeper, and I could almost see that being a tactic that City used, with Bernardo, because he's very good on the ball to go right or left, but to drive at them, keep going towards that byline, they get deeper and deeper, and then all of a sudden you get a midfielder arriving right on the top of the box, inside the box for that shot, and I could see a potential goal coming that way, because when I looked at it, I went, they're just awfully deep. And he releases at the right time, and it was Ryan that ended up having his shot. So I could see, 2 or 3 of those occasions happening in the second half.
Nico O'Reilly playing left back, obviously he sees himself as a midfielder. That's why he's played throughout his youth career. He's coming inside. I said to you, it's sort of like the Stone sort of role on obviously the other side, reminiscent of that. When we're in possession and we've got all this possession, I mean, we've seen the stats, how important, not how important, but how good is it to have that extra centre midfielder almost?
It's huge because I think the understanding's key. I think especially when you're playing against low block, it's about not taking each other's spaces. And when you have someone like Nico that's grew up playing in that number 10 position for Manchester City for the last however many years, I think even though he's deployed as a left back here, he's able to go into that role quite comfortably and cause problems. And I like the fact he's making runs into the box because of his height, and he can score goals from crosses, he can cause havoc and spaces for other people. So I think, like, when we're speaking about Doku and Bernardo, I think the rule is as long as someone's keeping with, people can go wherever they want, and I think that's what makes us one of the best teams in the world.
Not what do we need to change, but what could we potentially change in the second half? Or is it a case of just keep doing this, keep wearing them down, keep tightening the bolts and see where we're at?
I think it's continued doing a lot of what we're doing. Like I said, on the right-hand side, we have opportunities to cross. Can we cross? If Bernardo's on the right-hand side, can he receive it? Can he drive them back? Because then space will open up on the inside for inside run from midfielders who have shots. Doku, if it's out wide, yes, can he drive to the byline and he'll be getting him behind the defence. But if he's in the pocket as well, he can create with his dribbling skill to be able to dribble across a player, get combinations. So I think all those are different options. So I think it isn't about Doku just being in the pocket or just being wide. I think it's sometimes being inside, sometimes being wide, and looking at those different things. We're talking about Nico O'Reilly getting in the box if it's out wide on the right-hand side, him getting in the box with Haaland, as we're saying, we've got this height. So I think we could have a mixture of these sort of things that will allow us to create more chances to score a goal.
We've seen them sacrifice De Bruyne for a defender, but could we see City maybe do the opposite? Maybe, like you said, a Kusanov, change it for a Nunes who can come in midfield Is that something that would surprise you if we saw a change like that in the second half?
I don't think it would surprise us. I think it's about trying to win the game, and I think Pep might give it 15, 20 minutes before he potentially makes that change, because Houghton's up there by himself. He's doing a lot of running, he's doing a lot of chasing, and he's not going to be able to do that for 90 minutes. So do we necessarily need 3 or 4 defenders back there? Probably not. Maybe do we add another number into the box or in and around? And I think if we keep playing the way that we're playing, I think that patience is key. But I think patience, but with high tempo. And I think the spaces are the edge of the box. I think if they're going to predict that we're crossing, we've got people like Rodri. I mean, we see what Rodri does when the ball hits the edge of the box and he's on the end of the ball. So I think that might be a way of trying to get Napoli as deep as I possibly can to have the space on the edge of the box.
You mentioned Houghton there. Shaun, what's it like as a striker being isolated when you've only got 10 players? Like, how do you keep, I guess, switched on and motivated?
I think the role he would have to play is staying connected with the team, because he can be up there and be running and just chasing shadows, and it's never really going to affect City. His battle being as a midfielder, even though as a striker, being closer to the midfield, because then any ball that's half won from them, it's a little pass or it's a nut down from it being in the air, and he's able to be closer to connect. So whether he sets it back and then he gets on his bike to be able to create a counter-attack situation for them. That's the role that he will be wisely better playing, rather than being disconnected, being up there, trying to press and never really affecting anything. And really, he'll just run himself tired, not affecting the game at all.
Savinho, Oscar Bob and Mukasa all on the bench are attacking options. Do you reckon we'll see one of them around 15 minutes then? Do you think that will happen, or do you think Pep will give it a little bit longer?
I could see someone like Oscar Bob coming on. I think in them areas where Bernardo Silva's find himself on that right-hand side where you go 1v1, and the feet that Oscar has in terms of being able to get at people and creating something. He can go on his left foot, he can go on his right foot, and I think they're players that you would definitely look at. But for me, I can definitely think that Oscar Bob will probably come on and try and make a difference.
What do you think Pep's saying to him in the dressing room, right? Coming out, what do you reckon the message is? Well,
I think the message is a lot of what was said, but number one is be switched on at the back, because we could always be thinking about attacking and scoring and creating, and then all of a sudden it's one counter-attack and it's like, oh, what's happened there? So I think that'll be the number one thing. Stay switched on at the back and have patience at the right time, and know when to keep it fast and know when to slow it up.
And Steph, on the other side, defensively, what would Conte be saying? What would you be saying to your team? You're down to 10.
I think you've just got to give it everything. I think it's hard because not physically it's hard, but also mentally to be able to concentrate for that amount of time when you've got the likes of Haaland, Reinders, Foden, like players with that quality. I think they don't let you switch off. So I think from a defensive point of view from Napoli, it's going to be a really tough half just to keep the score that it is now. But I think I'm confident in City. I think we look confident, we look sharp, we look on it, and I think only in the next 10-15 minutes we'll really tell where we're going to go with this game.
You've just jogged my mind. I mean, I accidentally skipped across him, but Giovanni Reinders, he has looked very lively, right?
Yes, he has. And he's someone that could unlock it because, again, his dribbling techniques in tight areas to shift the ball, shift his body, shift the ball, get a clean strike off. But he has looked very lively.
Right. Big second half incoming. We're going to head back over to our comms team, Ali Mann and Andy Morrison.
Thank you, Liam. Team's not out yet, although they're hovering in the tunnel. Good moment, actually, to remind you of City's 8 games in the league phase of the Champions League. After today, they then travel to Monaco, who were beaten by Copenhagen earlier today. Then they travel to Villarreal, that is in October. Then they are home to 2 German teams, Dortmund on the 5th of November, and then on the 29th of November, Bayer Leverkusen. Then they go to the Bernabeu for yet another meeting with Real Madrid, and then they've got 2 games in January. One of them is away in one of the coldest venues in world football, and imagine what it's going to be like in January. That's Bodo Glimt. I'll tell you for nothing, by the way, even though it's a 5:45 kickoff, it will be something like -30 around kickoff time. I know that because I did a game last year in the Europa League involving Bodo Glimt, and it was ridiculously cold. All I can say is the players will be wearing tights and everything. And then the final game is at home to Galatasaray. Anyway, that's all in the future. Let's get back to tonight. 0-0 here between City and Napoli, who've been down to 10 men since around about the 20th minute. City have had chances.